Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube channel where we talk about anything war. And today, uh, I'll be showing you what I believe to be 10 of the best historical tactics. Except actually on the first half of it because I got too lazy. I'll make the rest soon. So yeah, if you ask if I made this in Google Slides, my answer is yes, I did. Okay? Don't judge me. It's easy. At the same time, it's also hard. It was a headache and a half to make this. But at least easier than making animations, so yeah. Either way, let's go. At number 10, we have the formation change. Quick note, these aren't official names. I don't actually know official names for these kind of things. At least I checked online. I couldn't find one, so. Either way, the formation change. So, I'll be using these. How I'll do this is I'll show you guys like a quick rundown battle of how this works using these. And then I will, after, show you guys a real battle, explain how it works, the importance, that stuff. And later on, I'll make a deep dive video about each of these tactics individually, where I show how weaknesses, strengths, battles they won in, battles they lost in. Since every battle and every tactic has its weaknesses, you know. Either way, let's start off with formation change. Again, not the official name. And for reference, these lighter colored ones on the flanks are like weaker infantry. These center ones are their main infantry, and these backs are the reserves and the elites. And so, they clash normally for a few days. Okay. Um, the formation change is just it's a simple enough tactic, I guess, where after you clash with your opponent normally for a few days or something, you change your formation without the enemy knowing that, without your enemy knowing it, and you'll see that from this battle I've made. So both sides clash normally for a few days. It's all going well, all going good, and then one day, after doing this for multiple days in a row, it's gonna start being a habit for both sides. But one day, Blue decides they send one of their reserve corps over to their left flank. And now that they have these elite soldiers there on their left flank, they easily plow through the opponent's right flank, which causes them to rout. And this opens up a lot of flanking opportunities. Now, of course, this won't work perfectly because enemy reserves troops exist, and they can send their reserves to go hold there. However, this tactic can lead to great decisive victories, like I'll show you right now. This is the Battle of Lipa, fought in 206 BC by Scipio Africanus and Hasdrubal Gisco. This was 51,000 men against 64,000. And we have a legend on the side here. The Spanish allies are these blocks, since they were fighting in Iberia, and a lot of their armies were Spanish allies. We have their elite main armies. Hasdrubal had the Libyans, and Scipio Africanus had the Romans, since he was Roman. This was the Second Punic War, by the way, if you didn't know. The skirmishers are these dots. The elephants are these trapezoids, and cavalry are the triangles. Scipio is red. Anyways, so how this battle went was they would form up every day in these formations. They both would do the same traditional formation every single day, repeat and repeat. And after doing this for multiple days, Scipio one day would launch a morning attack and wake up Hasdrubal before he would form up on the field. Hasdrubal would naturally come out, and since they were attacked early, he would form up. He didn't put much thought into it and formed up in their usual formation, like this. However, Scipio had a surprise. His formation wasn't like that. He formed up and replaced his Spanish allies with his Romans. He replaced them. That way, his center army was actually his Spanish allies, while his flanking armies were the Romans. He also put the skirmishers out to the sides to engage the opponent elephants. And so they charged forwards, and what you'll notice is that he pushed forward his Roman infantry further and faster than he did with his Iberian infantry. This was done for a strict purpose. If he pushed forward the Iberian infantry, then the Libyans could counterattack and break them. And so he instead only pushed forward his Roman armies. So they collided, he started pushing them back, and the Libyans, okay, they couldn't help They couldn't help the Iberian infantry on Hasdrubal's side, or else they could get flanked by the Iberian infantry on Scipio's side. Except the Iberian infantry were dramatically outclassed by the Roman infantry. And so, seeing as how they couldn't, help and they were getting pushed back, they instead just routed. Hasdrubal tried forming another defensive line, but he was very quickly defeated. This is known as Scipio's greatest battle by some. Some people like to point at Zama. I'm personally not a big fan of Zama, but oh well. Casualties at the end of the battle were 7,000 for Scipio and 48,000 for Hasdrubal. And so next at number 9, we have the Forced Last Stand. This is my personal favorite tactic on this list. Might be one of my personal favorite tactics overall. Okay, so this is a tactic used by a commander when they are dramatically outclassed, like outnumbered and stuff. So, like in this case, this press has 4 soldiers, while the opponent has, well, not 4 soldiers, 4 armies, while the opponent has 24 armies. They're outnumbered 1 to 6. And so, instead of trying to fight them normally or something, what they do is back themselves up against a river. And the advantages of this is twofold. First off, it's harder to flank them. These armies can't try going through here and here since the river can help block off the flanks, especially if they back up even further. And finally, most importantly, and why this tactic was used, especially by the Chinese, actually, this was a tactic used a lot by the Chinese. Your men can't retreat. While that is often bad in many situations, in this case it's good. Because how they would fight is, if you lose the battle, you're basically guaranteed to die. You'll notice that in a lot of ancient Chinese battles, especially during the Warring States period. The losing side usually faced almost complete annihilation. And so they would use this as a threat to their men. They can't retreat since the river blocks off their back, so what they have to do is turn around and fight. And they would fight several times harder since they didn't want to die. And if they got captured, they would be killed. No escape, so they fight back, rushing forwards. So this was used at the Battle of Jinsing in 205 BC by Han Xin against Zhao Xie and Chen Yu. He had 30,000 soldiers who were not very well trained. That's actually a very important thing to notice, by the way. Because oftentimes in these battles, their men are really well trained. No, Han Xin's soldiers were actually bad. His elite soldiers were taken away by the king because he needed reinforcements. So Han Xin was left with only these 30,000. Zhao Xie and Chen Yu had 200,000 men. Anyway, so we have another legend here. Keep in mind this loot part. Loot's going to be important soon. Either way, so his first surprising thing he did in the battle was he crossed the river. Normally, most people would stay behind the river and try fighting a defensive battle here. No, he chose to go use the Forced Last Stand tactic and cross the river. And next thing he did was take this small unit of like cavalry and send them around to here, where he hid them behind this hill. Anyway, so the battle would commence now. He took 10,000 of his men and he charged, okay? Obviously, he was beaten back, and while he retreated back to his lines, he left behind, like loot, like gold, banners, drums, that sort of thing. You'll see why this matters soon. Has to do with the cavalry. You can try guessing. Anyway, so Zhao Xi and Chen Yu started their attack. They led their 200,000 men against Han Xin's army. And they just pressed forwards, and Han Xin gave a speech to his men about how if they wanted to live, then they had to fight bravely, which reinvigorated his men, and they started fighting harder. And they were able to resist the battle. They were able to push back Zhao Xi and Chen Yu's men, mostly at least. They were getting pushed back, though. And to the perspective of the people inside of this castle area, their camp, from what it looked like their Han Xin was about to be completely destroyed, even though he's actually surviving, and they were doing well. And since they realized, oh no, wait, if we don't leave now, we won't get any loot or any merits or spoils. So they left their camp to go gather the spoils that were deliberately left behind by Han Xin when he retreated. And then his cavalry group took this as the opportunity to capture the camp and place their flags there. At this point, the infantry who left the camp went to go join the main attack. So the cavalry went, put their banners up there, okay? Now, at this point, Zhao Xie and Chen Yu's soldiers are getting tired, and they're kind of getting demoralized since they're like, why aren't these men dying? There's only 30,000 of them, 200,000 of us. So Zhao Xie decided, you know what, we'll just take a break here for the rest of the day. We'll come back tomorrow. So they turned around halfway through. They noticed that their camp was captured, and seeing the banners of Han there, they started panicking. And this opportunity, Han Xin chose to launch his attack against the panicking men, which caused them to rout. This was a brilliant victory by Han Xin. The casualties are not exactly known, but it is a brilliant victory in general. And it shows the power of the Force last stand. It wasn't necessarily like the most important part of the battle. However, without it, his men couldn't have hoped to hold. It's the best example I could think of. Anyways, let's move on. Number 8, we have hunger tactics. Okay. This actually, I would debate a lot on what battle to use for this. This was done at Ilipa, the one for the formation change. Okay, famously done at Ilipa too. Since that was part of why Scipio woke them up in the morning, so they would have to rush out hungry. This was also done at Trebia by Hannibal. He woke them up early without breakfast, so they would have to fight on empty stomachs. But I ended up choosing a different battle since I thought it was a better, or at least better to show off. Anyway, so this is the diagram I've made for it. Hunger tactics is basically choosing a moment to fight your opponent when they're hungry. And so at like 6 a.m., you take out your cavalry and you just choose to attack the opponent. And they're still asleep, so when they wake up, they have to form up and get out on the battlefield. As you can see, I added dialogue, them like, you want to attack, wake up, come on, we gotta fight. And then someone's mad because they haven't eaten breakfast. And that's basically how hunger tactics work. You choose a moment to strike when your opponent will be hungry, so you can take advantage of that and be stronger than them. And so I chose the Battle of Callinicum, 531 AD, fought by Belisarius against Azarathes. Azarathes is blue, and they are the person we're following. Surprisingly, most people, if they don't know about this battle and stuff, would expect it to be Belisarius, since he's known as Rome's last great general. But this is actually one of his defeats, one of his many defeats. Either way, 531 AD, 25,000 men for Belisarius against Azarathes, 15,000. And we have this legend, cavalry are the ones with slants through them, soldiers are the solid ones, and the river, we haven't seen it yet, but the river's the blue thing. Either way, so they start off the battle with Azarathes' men retreating and just running away. This isn't like a perfectly accurate representation, since that's not exactly what happened. What happened was they were racing to a city, and after Belisarius captured the city, a chase ensued where Azarathes was trying to get away from them. But anyway, this was the best way I could represent it in Google Slides. Anyway, so eventually Azarathes stopped at this river near the city. But the river and this is probably the most important point I want to focus on. Either way, so Azarathes was running away since he was outnumbered and outmaneuvered. And he chose to stop here and fight. And he turned around his men. The reason why he chose to stop and fight here was because Belisarius' men should have gotten tired by now since they were fasting. Because, high religious beliefs. Belisarius did actually want to fight this battle since his men would be tired from their fasting, but his men were filled with religious zeal, and so they wanted to do it. And so this is when he chose to fight them. And that's at least what encouraged him to fight. Now, the actual battle, they started off with an exchange of arrows. I didn't know how I would draw that, so I didn't. Would not draw, put down Google Slides. And instead, this is, I was just going to talk my way through it, which I've done already. Either way, after a while, Azarathes noticed weakness in Belisarius' right, so he shifted soldiers into his left and launched the attack. which caused Belisarius's right to rout. His right was actually routed so quickly that there was an investigation for treachery. Anyways, this put Belisarius in a formation where he's getting flanked and enveloped. So most of his army retreated. He took a portion of their soldiers and hit up against this river. There's two accounts of what happened. Either A, he fought with his men till nightfall and then left by boat, or he just rode away by boat. You get to decide which one you want to go with. I feel like it's more likely that he simply rode away by boat before nightfall, but who knows? Either way, casualties exactly aren't known. However, what it is known is that both sides faced heavy casualties. And so I know that the focus of this battle seems to be kind of like the formation change where he reinforced this wing. But the whole reason that Azarathes chose to fight was because he knew that he could overwhelm them because they were hungry now. Or at least that's what he believed. So Azarathes chose to attack. And he combined that with his tactical skill. So really, hunger tactics is more like a way of choosing when to attack or when to fight best. So you can combine that with other tactics for a good victory. You'll notice that in every single battle, most battles where hunger tactics are used, it's simply combined with other tactics. It's almost never like the main focus tactic, however, it's very helpful in my opinion. Either way. Number 7. Second to last one for the day. We have feigned or purposeful weakness. These are two different things, but I like to include them in the same one. Feigned weakness is where you pretend to be weak. I actually was thinking about another battle for this one for that feigned part, or purposeful weakness, where you create a weakness. You purposely made one. You add it on purpose. It's not like a mistake that you made or something. Either way, I am choosing probably the most popularly known, well-known battle for this. It's the Battle of Austerlitz. First, let's go show off a description, or like this page, the battle page I used to show off. I'm just gonna stop talking, get back on track. Okay, so basically what you do is you weaken one of your flanks purposefully when you're outnumbered. Instead of like trying to make all your flanks, all your sides equal in number, you make one of them purposely weaker than the others. Your opponent, okay, you clash. Your opponents will try sending soldiers over there since they notice this side is weak. It's similar to what happened at Kalinicum. If your opponent does this incorrectly, then you can break through their center since this part is now weakened. It all depends on execution though. So now this is the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805 AD, where Napoleon fought against Mikhail Kutuzov. Actually, I couldn't decide who to choose as the commander put up here. There's too many people. I would either choose Alexander or Mikhail Kutuzov. So yeah, that's who I chose. Either way, 74,000 men fought against 89,000 men. This is known as Napoleon's masterpiece. And I was lazy while making this map since, I got tired last night. Okay, don't judge. It was 2 in the morning. These are topographic lines if you couldn't tell, and I just used just soldiers. Napoleon is the one in blue, obviously. So what he did was he weakened his right flank purposely, because what he wanted them to do was send soldiers down from here, the Pratzen Heights, to attack his flank so he could break through their center and envelop. His enemy commanders, when they noticed that his flank was weak, wanted to do exactly what he hoped they would want to do, and is try attacking here like this in a hook-like manner. Similar, I guess, similar in a way to what Robert E. Lee wanted to do at Gettysburg, but not quite the same. Either way, so that's what they did. They pushed heavily on his flank, sending lots of men, especially down the Pratzen Heights, which is the key point of the battlefield, to try defeating his right flank. Luckily, just on time, Iron Marshal DeVoe arrived with the clutch reinforcements to go hold this flank. They were still outnumbered like 2-1, but it was looking better than before. So, they were down here. Now you'll notice they were really weak here. If you take here, it's really easy to flank and encircle them now. So, that's exactly what Napoleon did. He pushed his center army forward, and then their other flank on the left also started colliding. He ended up overpowering them on actually the center and the left. And after that, since they routed, he ended up just taking his men and hacking their right. Some of them escaped, some of them were captured. The ones who escaped actually became known for the stories of how they were running over rivers of ice, and so Napoleon had his men shoot the ice on the rivers so they would drown. They like to say that thousands died. It is very unlikely that's true, but it's an interesting story. Either way, 9,000 men were lost for Napoleon, while Alexander lost 33,000. You'll notice I changed it up. That's because originally I was going to do Mikhail Kutuzov, and then I was like, okay, might as well include Alexander too, but it was too long. So I just changed it up halfway through. Anyway, it doesn't matter much. And this is the last one we're doing for today. And number 6, we got hit and run tactics. So by the way, this is a symbol I'll be using for horse archers, because I can't think what else to use. And so fundamentally, this tactic is just charging the enemy, getting close enough to fire, and then running away. And this is a surprisingly effective tactic, as shown by the Battle of Carrhae. I was actually debating between this one and Hattin, but I chose Carrhae. This is known as Rome's greatest military disaster in 53 BC, where Crassus led 40,000 men to fight against Serena and his 10,000 men. Actually, don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Serena. Who cares? Not me. So, we have this legend here. The camels you'll want to keep in mind for later. And keep in mind Serena, I don't know. I'm going to call them Serena. Serena is the red one. He was heavily outnumbered against Crassus, but oh well. So Crassus decided to go have his men. Originally, he was going to go with the standard line abreast formation, which is just the line formation reaching out wide to prevent encirclement and stuff. But at the end, he chose to adopt a square formation. Not much of a square, more of a box. Doesn't really matter though. With his cavalry and inside stuff, standard formation stuff. So Serena, whatever, was sent his men, his horse archers, forward. The Romans expected a charge as normal, but instead, he had his horse archers just run back and forth around them, pestering them with arrows. Pretend you can see arrows flying from here to there, blah, 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 blah. He just repeated this over and over again. So Crassus, his light infantry tried to charge outside to stop them, but they got cut down really quickly. So instead, he decided they're just going to hold there and just wait for them to run out of arrows. And that's when Serena revealed his secret trick, and it's that he brought camels, 1,000 camels, each bringing arrows. And so that's kind of where it dawned on Crassus that he was kind of done, since they could just continue their barrage of arrows infinitely. So Crassus tried to go break out by sending his son out with a contingent of cavalry to go run them down and defeat them. But they just they did a feigned retreat, pulled outwards, and then his son was flanked and captured and killed. They actually partied his son's head over to them, which is what caused their morale to break. Either way, when it hit nightfall, they pulled back from their attacks. Crassus took left with his army that could still move, since not most, but a large portion of his army was too crippled to move anymore. And this is kind of, his defeat. Crassus actually tried escaping, but he was hunted down and killed. Overall, 30,000 of Crassus's 40,000 men were captured or killed, and meanwhile Serena only lost, well, actually we don't even know how many, but we just know it's low. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys found it informative. I hope you guys thought it was interesting. And I'll be releasing part 2 soon, except my plan for that is I'm not going to do like I did in this video. I'm going to do a deep dive into each tactic individually. So yeah, that'll be fun. And I'll do like a different part for each tactic. So be excited for part two where we'll go into number five. And if this ends up saving you, this tactics I've shown you, you're welcome. I don't know why. I don't know what you'll ever need these for, but who knows? Maybe you get in situations where you need to know ancient tactics. And if you do get in those situations, can you bring me? I would love to do that. That sounds really fun. Anyways, yeah. See you guys later. Hope you guys enjoy your day. Blah blah blah. Other ending stuff.